Hello, everyone. This is ex-Bethelite here, and I haven't been on in a little while. Just took a little break because, frankly, reliving a lot of these memories in order to relate them to other people is not really something that I enjoy doing. Now, I enjoy helping people. I think the purpose and me doing all of this is to try to help people, because I keep thinking to myself, what if I was on the other end of this camera and I was listening to these things and I got an opportunity to hear this information before going to Bethel? Would it have changed my opinion? And maybe I would have made a wiser choice. Or maybe someone hears some of these things before getting baptized, not realizing that, okay, once I'm baptized, I can now be ostracized from my entire family and all my friends. So I took some time to think about all of these things, because uh, you have to really make sure you're doing things for the right reason. And the right reason to be doing this is to potentially save people a lot of heartbreak, save people from losing close family, people that they consider close friends. And while it's not fun at all to relive some of these experiences, because I spent a lot of time trying to push them to the back of my mind, and what purpose is there then to have been through them? If the information that I have can benefit other people, then I need to make that information available to them. If I go through these painful experiences and then not tell anyone about them, then went through them for no reason. And I think that there are a lot of really good, really sincere people in this organization. I know for a fact that there are a lot of really well-meaning people. They're just misled. And there's a concept that if I could talk to, a witness and help them to understand that this whole concept of they're in the one true organization is a concept that anyone would have if they had the same policies that the organization, the Watchtower organization, has with regards to, we will tell you about what we want you to know. We will tell you about good things. But all the negative things, we're going to sweep them under the rug. And as a matter of fact, if you talk about anything negative going on or any teachings that you don't agree with, you speak about these things too much openly, we'll get rid of you. We'll disfellowship you. We'll excommunicate you. If Catholics did that, and Catholics only knew good things about their church, because speaking about anything else would be viewed as apostasy, well, then of course they're going to think that they're the only religion and everyone else is just horrible because they know negative things about everyone except for themselves. If Baptists were not allowed to speak critically about their church or membership in that church, and doing so would end up in them losing all their family and being branded as an apostate and being removed from that church just from speaking, just because they're speaking the truth about things that go on in that church. Well, if they were only allowed information that was positive and not allowed to look at nor speak about anything negative, then of course the Baptists are going to think that they're the only true church and everyone else is horrible because they know negative things about other churches and they're not allowed to look at anything negative about their own. Any church that only allows positive things to be spoken of or read about themselves would think that they're better than everyone else. That's common sense. And it's not that they are better. It's just that you're not allowed to think anything less. And it's the same with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Awesome people in that organization. Well-meaning people in that organization. People that really do love God in that organization. That organization thinks that they are the only ones that is being guided by God. And the reason why they think that is because they're not allowed to look at what they call, quote unquote, anything negative they call apostate. But someone thinking about that and putting one and one together, which makes two, is okay, well, if I'm not allowed any information that's critical of my organization, then that's going to cloud my view of it. And I'm going to think, well, this is obviously the truth because, wow, look at us and look at everyone else. Well, you're not looking at you. That's the problem. You're not looking at your organization. You're only looking at what they will allow you to look at. And that's one way I think that a lot of people are being misled. And while I was at Bethel, I only was allowed to really speak about positive things to other people about Bethel, other people outside of Bethel, because people inside Bethel know. But people outside Bethel, they don't want to know. They truly don't. They don't want to know. I've spoken to family while at Bethel, having seen some of the most traumatic things, at least to me at that point. To me, it was very traumatic, some of the things that I'd seen. I'll give you another example in a few minutes. But I remember finding, little secluded rooms. There's tons of them, little secluded rooms, get on the phone, talk to a relative, and even hinting at something negative makes people think that there's something wrong with you. And the only person I could really talk to, as far as a relative that I could really talk to about things, were relatives that were not witnesses. I had relatives that lived about 4 hours away from Bethel in New Jersey. And that's where my father lived, and my father was not a Jehovah's Witness. So, of course, I could travel to go visit him and just tell him openly, man, I saw this and I saw that, and I can't tell my mom this, and I can't tell, my cousins about this because they anytime I even hint at something, they cut me off, or they tell me not to talk about things like that. It seems like common sense to me that is not evidence of an organization that's heads and tails above any other. That's evidence of people who really don't want to see the truth. You can be well-meaning and not want to know certain things. And I think that people are well-meaning and they're told not to dig, not to search for anything other than the answers to Sunday's Watchtower, which is right there in the paragraph. You can look at that. But even that's not a discussion. It's not a Watchtower discussion. It's a Watchtower. We're going to ask you controlled questions, and you're going to give us controlled answers to those questions. an example of something that I remember talking to my father about. Again, my father's not a witness, and was against me going to Bethel. But of course, I'm thinking the organization is directly guided by God. So if I'm accepted to Bethel, that's where God wants me. I'm not going to listen to my father, who I thought wasn't thinking in a spiritual way. And so, of course, here I am, partly wanting to witness to him and bring him in the organization because I thought that was a good thing to do. But in reality, what I'm doing is telling him, I saw this and I saw that. And he's the one comforting me. I'll give you an example. I had a public talk to give, and I wanted to practice that talk out loud. And there is, the podium that's at the Kingdom Hall. Well, my congregation was like 45 minutes away. So I wanted to use a podium there at Bethel. Now, there's plenty of them. There's plenty of rooms that are just used for meetings and things like that. And they've got podiums and all kinds of things inside those rooms. And I remember one night I was preparing for a meeting. This wasn't a meeting night, but I was studying for up and coming meetings. And I'm in the library. My head's nodding off because not only did I prepare for my meeting, but I did a lot of personal study, and I had to do a lot of Bible reading and different things like that. Again, you have a requirement to finish the whole Bible in your first year. So I was doing a lot of study, and it was getting late. And it's probably 12 o'clock. I studied for meetings, like I prepared each part like I was going to give that part, which very oftentimes was the case because the Poughkeepsie congregation was building a Kingdom Hall. Now, they were using someone else's for the time being, but they were building their own. A lot of the members of the congregation were working on that build and weren't at the meeting. So I would get calls all the time. Can you give this part? Can you give that part? This brother's going to be working on the build. Can you give this part? And it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for me to go to the hall and have 3 parts to give. In the school, parts in the school, parts in the service meeting, because everybody's working on the quick build. So I'm preparing all this stuff. I'm studying all of these things, and it's probably 12 o'clock or so, and I'm starting to nod off, and I'm thinking, I got to get this public talk in at least once before I go to sleep. So I get up, get all my things together. Actually have my hall bag in Bethel. I'm in Bethel. I got my hall bag with all my books and everything in it, walking down the hall. And I'm thinking, let me find a room with a podium. So I remember going to my room, putting my bag in my closet, and getting my talk outline. And I walked down the steps to a hallway, which was it was somewhat dark. I guess they start cutting off the lights around that time, and I'm just looking in, the window of the doors to try to figure out which one has got the podium. Which one's got the podium? I knew one of them had the podium because I'd practiced in that general area before, but I'm tired. It's dark, and there's one room with some light on. So I go to that room, look in there, bam, there's a podium. And I'm thinking, I'll just use this room as long as no one else is in there. And then I look and was in total shock total shock because I'm seeing two people kissing. There's two people sitting next to each other uh, in like dress clothes, like they just came from a meeting or something. And uh, they're sitting next to each other. They're kissing, and I mean like tongue kissing. I mean like passionate kissing. And it was obviously two men. Obviously two men. There's no way you could mistake a sister in suit clothes. They were both in suit clothes, like they both came from their meeting, and you know, the one, brother was kissing the other. He had his hand on his he had his hand on the other brother's thigh, like his inner thigh, rubbing. And I'm looking at this, and my world is spinning. It's like literally a hurricane. If a hurricane were to hit the inside of your house right now, your belongings would literally be everywhere, and you wouldn't know what in the world you were looking at, nor would you know what hit you. That's how I was internally. My mind was a million different places at once, and I still, I'm telling you, that indoctrination was so strong. I still didn't fully grasp what it was I had just seen. Because anytime you see something like that, and you have been, I was raised, born and raised a witness, and you raised from infancy to believe what you are now looking at is impossible. That can't be happening. You never heard of anything like that happening before. I don't know. I think the only time I had ever seen anything like that before that time was on television. And, nothing against people who are homosexual or, have any kind of other, uh, anything else like that. But I just don't know that we're socially conditioned to just walk in on something like that in a scenario where you don't believe anything like that's even possible to happen. So I, of course, jump back. I'm looking in. I'm looking to make sure that the room is clear so I can use the podium. And I see this, and I jump back. And prior to jumping back, I'm like, I probably looked for a good 2 or 3 minutes before I finally jumped back. And I fast walk down that hall. I don't know what it is. It's a matter of slowly waking up because at first you're feeling like you're in a paradise type situation where nothing can happen. And then you start slowly seeing things that make you feel unsafe. You don't feel like you're in a paradise type situation anymore. You don't know that anything could happen. And I'm standing here in a dark hallway and so I'm slowly starting to wake up, but that indoctrination is so strong that I see things happening that are far below the standards that I thought were commonplace, at Bethel. And again, there's good people. They're good people, but they just aren't as perfect as they think they are. The organization is nowhere near where they think it is. But no, they are good people. Very good, honest-hearted people. And, I try not to even pass judgment on those two brothers because, gay marriage is legal now. But if you look at it from their perspective, they probably would lose their entire family if they openly expressed how they felt. So this is all blowing my mind. Obviously, I did not go over my uh, talk. And I I went back to my room, put my public talk outline on my desk, and couldn't stay in the room. The lights were out. My roommate was going to sleep. I'm wanting to pace. I'm wanting to think. I left my room and I got into my car and I drove, I believe it was to the materials warehouse. I wanted to go somewhere secluded. I needed to get away. I needed to get away. And I drove my car to the materials warehouse. It's, I don't know, maybe close to 1 o'clock, maybe after 1 a.m. at this time. So I'm parked outside the materials warehouse and I'm sitting in my car and I have the seat leaned back and I'm just laying there and I'm just praying. I'm thinking, what is going on? You know, where am I? What am I seeing? And as I'm praying and trying to think and figure everything out that's hitting me, the security, there's security and they are like in these white trucks. And I see a white truck pull up because, of course, the headlights are on. And the truck pulls up beside me. And it's like, I cannot get away to think. So I back my car up. I'm a little upset at this point because I drove all the way out there just to think. And you got security pulling up. And I probably could have just talked to the brother and just told him, hey, I just need to think. I just need to relax and think. But I was upset and I didn't want to talk to anybody right at that point. So I drove my car, backed up, I drove my car, driving down the street, and I'm kind of looking, I'm trying to find a place where I can just park and stop and think. Sure enough, I don't know if it's the same truck or a different truck, but it's the security truck pulls up behind my car, and I'm thinking, what do they want? And I'm just driving and I'm thinking, this is too much. I want to be left alone. I don't want to be getting followed by the security truck. And, I don't know what they want. So I just kept driving and driving and driving. And eventually, and they followed me for a good while. And I'm thinking, hopefully they can just write my license plate down and see that I'm a Bethelite. Why are they following me? I don't have a curfew. And I remember eventually turning around and I'm thinking, they can follow me to my room for all I care at that point. Turn around, using my clicker, going under the clicker is it's almost like a little garage door opener. And there's a security thing that you have to, use your clicker to get it to raise up so that you can drive in there. So I used my clicker, drove in to Bethel and parked my car. And it's like, fine, I can't even go somewhere and think. So I eventually went to the library. I didn't want to go back to my room. I went to the library that's in the E-residence, the E building, which is the bigger library. And it's got a big window, some couches sitting in front of that window. And I sat on that couch and in shock and just was there until I passed out of sleep. I didn't move from that spot until I woke up the next day. And I didn't have anyone to tell about all of this. Why didn't I have anyone to tell about all of this? Because the organizations know better than anyone else. However, you're not allowed to talk about things like that. If I call and tell someone something like that is going on at Bethel, they're liable to turn on me. And who knows? They might try to say that's apostate talking or something like that. But you see my point. My point is that I had to go and talk to worldly family about all of this. I couldn't talk, and most of my family are witnesses. I couldn't talk to my family about any of the things that I'm seeing at Bethel because they don't want to know. They don't want to know. All the information is there. All this information is there online. People can look it up, but they don't want to know and they're told not to. So no, they're no better than anyone else. They just look at their organization through rose-colored glasses, and then they look at everyone else in a judgmental fashion. So I had to, take a little break from the videos because it's not fun to think about things like that. These are some of the most stressful times in my life up to that point. I'd never seen or heard of any of the things that I was experiencing. So when I'm telling you these experiences, I'm talking about things that were the most shocking things that I had ever seen in my life up to that point. And that takes a lot out of you in doing that. But I think it's worth it if it helps people in some way. If it helps people that may have also seen these things and now they don't feel like they're alone, or maybe it helps people to say, you know what, this organization isn't perfect and maybe I shouldn't jump whenever someone tells me to, and not take blood just because someone told me not to, or to marry someone because someone told me to marry them, because these are imperfect people, just like anyone else. And I try to get involved with a lot of positive things also. There's a shelter where they feed the homeless, and I was there, and it was one of my first times doing something like that, and it was pretty cool. You're in there working with people, and they're different churches. They're all different. They're people that are volunteers from different churches, and they're all working together, and everybody's getting along. Nobody's having these arguments and debate as to whose theology is better. We're just working to try to help people who are misfortunate or that are not as fortunate or going through things. And I think that getting involved with a lot of positive things has helped me a lot in being able to build myself up to be able to share these experiences with you guys. So you guys get into the comment box and let me know what you think about all these things. And this is ex-Bethelite signing out.